Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaoatman.com. Thank you for joining me today. If you are joining me for the first time, welcome. This is a daily podcast devoted to spirituality and self-help. And if you are returning, welcome back. Super appreciate my loyal listeners. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about not ignoring problems in your life. When I was doing my meditation today and asking, what do people need to hear about? What I got was that people need to hear that it's going to be okay. You don't need to ignore your problems. Problems are going to get worked out. The universe has your back, and so there's no need to ignore anything. It is all too common for people to bury their head in the sand and not want to look at things that aren't going right for them. I know that right now life is pretty hectic for me, and I need to learn more about balance. I know my children are very important to me, but I've been working so much on my business that they may be feeling like they're not. And I know that I need to take a step back, and when this week is over, I'll have more time to actually take them out and go do things with them and make sure they know they are a priority. But it can be easy just to keep moving through life so quickly that you ignore those kinds of things. And you ignore problems that are starting to surface. For some people, it might be financial problems. You know, a lot of people get into debt. And as Heather Doran and I talked about on the previous podcast, we talked about how people get into debt, crippling debt, and they don't want to take a look at their own finances because they're embarrassed or ashamed of how they've gotten into that mess. And they just don't know how they're going to get out of it. And I totally understand that as a single mom. I remember whenever I first got divorced, my children were very little. And for a year, my ex-husband didn't pay child support because he didn't have a job. So I was always wondering, where's the money going to come from? And I remember I went back to school and I took out student loans for my schooling. So for the first couple of years, I had to also take out extra money just for us to be able to live on. And of course, I had to pay that back whenever I got my degree. And at first, when I looked at that debt, the amount of debt that I had, it was overwhelming and frightening. And there have been several times in my life where I've had to take out a loan or something, and looking at that amount was very frightening. But looking back now, it was no big deal because I just set aside a little money each month and made my payments. And, at first it felt like, well, this is never going to get paid off because, it just felt like I was paying the interest and not a whole lot more. But I just kept steadily increasing what I could, and I never let it get me down or get discouraged, and I didn't constantly think about that debt that was there. And I know a lot of people choose to focus on the debt. They choose to focus on whatever it is that's out there that's fearful to them, feeling like they're not going to ever be able to overcome it. And I understand that. It could be easy to do that. But I honestly can tell you that I was so busy going to school, getting my kids to school, doing all of that. I really never had time to sit and think much about it, which is probably a really good thing. Looking back, that was a really, really good thing for me because it didn't cause me to focus on the wrong thing. I slowly paid that off. And then I had maybe like $1,000 or so left. And then they came to our school and talked about a loan forgiveness program for teachers. And I thought, oh, okay, so I signed up for that. Well, then the rest of it got paid off. And it was incredible. I was like, that is so cool. That was amazing. That helped a lot. So I had paid a lot of it off already myself, but then the rest of it got taken care of, which was awesome. And the reason I bring that up is because everything worked out. And I feel like with a lot of our problems, if we were to look at what would happen a year from now, we'd probably look back at whatever we're stressing about and say, like, that's not even an issue now. Like, I'm not even worried about that. That turned out okay. I feel like that would happen for most of us if we would just stop worrying and stressing and realize, is this going to matter in a week, in a month, in 5 months, in a year? And if it's not, then why are we stressing about it? But there are a lot of things in your life that you might be ignoring and not wanting to look at because of your fear of what's going to happen. You know, there are some people who are struggling with addictions, whether it be to cigarettes, to vaping, to alcohol, drugs, whatever, to food. It doesn't matter what it is. In the same way, a lot of people don't want to face those demons and those addictions. And I understand that because you're going to have to look at what's causing those. And the underlying cause of those addictions is pain in your life. And honestly, it really boils down to fear. Because the things that happen to us in our life that cause us pain, we're afraid in our lives that those things will happen again. So oftentimes we build walls and we shut people out because we're afraid that we're going to get hurt again. So really, everything does boil down to fear. And we're afraid to look at ourselves truly and deeply because I know that many of us would be afraid that we're not going to like what we see. But I'm here to tell you that you can never get too far into something, too far in debt, too far into an addiction. You can't get too far into anything to be too far gone. And you have the power and the ability to change at any moment in your life. Every day you wake up is a new day to try something different. But if you keep doing the same thing that you're doing over and over again and you're expecting something to change, it's not going to. That's the definition of insanity. So if you're struggling in your finances, but you're not doing anything to change what you're doing in your life, and it can be as simple as changing your thoughts. I mean, really, it boils down to changing your mindset. But if you're not willing to do it, if you're not willing to do the work, you're not willing to take a look at yourself, then nothing's going to change. But what I believe God wants us to know is that we never need to worry about looking at ourselves, about any problem we have, because if we knew how powerful we truly, truly were, we would know that we are way more powerful than any problem that could ever stand in front of us. We can move mountains with our thoughts. We just don't remember that. So it's important that we remember who we are and where we came from. And we don't have to be scared or worried because we have the divine's protection around us and working on our behalf behind the scenes. There's nothing for us to be worried about. There are a lot of things that we can do if we feel like something is worrying us to the point that we don't even want to look at it. And I know that there's something in your life that is causing that kind of worry. And I know that this message is for a lot of people because I wouldn't have gotten it so strongly in my meditation. Somebody needs to hear this. You don't have to hide. You don't have to be afraid to look at things head on. Because you know what? You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't know anyone who is. So it's okay if you've made mistakes in your past. Mistakes are just a way for us to learn and grow. Remember that I don't even like to call it failing or a mistake. I just consider it redirection. It's like the universe saying, go this way, try that way. So you don't have to be worried that whatever you did was so bad Nothing you've done is so bad. But you have to look at the situation. You have to be willing to look at yourself. Because in order to heal that, you have to look at it. And that's not easy. But a lot of the things we go through in our lives are really mirrors holding them up to our faces. Like, look at this, look at you. This is what you're doing. And it's not in a bad way, even though we take it as a bad thing. We see it as an attack. But it's not. It's just a way for us to look at ourselves from a different perspective. To say, am I doing everything that I could possibly be doing in this situation? Am I focusing on the right thing? Or am I still going back to fear and I'm still making my decisions based on fear? And if you're hiding your head and you're not even looking at a problem in your life, you're choosing fear. And that's never going to resolve the issue. It's not going to go away. Probably going to get worse before it gets better. And that's not to scare you, but it's just to emphasize that you shouldn't be worried about looking at yourself and looking at a problem or healing some kind of pain in your life. Because even though it's uncomfortable, what comes on the other side of that is healing. And it feels amazing. You feel so much lighter and freer when you're not carrying around those burdens anymore. Because even though you're ignoring the problem or the situation, it didn't go away. And you're still carrying around the burden, the heavy emotional burden that comes with that problem. Because you know when it comes out when you try to go to sleep at night, doesn't it? You lay your head down, you try to go to sleep, and all of these thoughts come rushing in about whatever the situation is. Like, oh, I can't believe that I got myself into debt. Oh, I really want to stop drinking tomorrow. I really need to get a job. I need to change careers. Whatever it is, it could be many things, but whatever it is that you're ignoring, that you're living with, that you're too afraid to look at, you're too afraid to face, that needs to be faced. And I don't say that to be mean or in a way of bullying you. I'm just telling you from my own expertise because I've been through it. It doesn't get better until you face it. I've had to face a lot of things in my life that I wasn't proud of. I've had to face people before and say, I'm sorry, I did not react in the best way possible. And it's humbling, but it's also healing. And when we learn that we can release all these things that we don't like about our lives, when we can change the behavior, when you realize that you're the one that holds all the power. If you don't like what's happening in your life, if you don't like a situation, change it. Change it, because you have the ability. Even if you just take one step today to get better or to change it. It's one day at a time, right? It doesn't have to be overwhelming. I know that I need to balance my life. I need to be in better balance. So I plan to go home tonight and talk to my children and let them know how much they mean to me and that I want to spend some time with them. And I plan on taking a day next week to go get a massage so I can relax a little bit. And I plan on slowing down just a little bit because I know I need to. And I think that oftentimes the reason that many people get so busy is because we don't want to slow down. We don't want to look at what's really happening in our lives. When we slow down and live in the present moment, sometimes we see things we don't like. But we have every possibility to change it. Every day is a new day to do something different. When you know that you're in alignment with who you truly are, then you feel totally at peace. It's when we're not in alignment that that feeling of unease shows up and we're not at peace. And if you're experiencing financial problems right now, I totally get it. But it's fixable. Everything is figureoutable. And you don't have to have all the answers right away. It can simply be taking one step, like, hey, today we're going to figure out a budget that works for us and we're going to stick to it. And with the extra money we save, we're going to start putting a little more towards our debt. It could be something as simple as that. Or, hey, we're going to take a class to help teach us how to get out of debt. You know, a lot of people think that's counterintuitive to spend money taking a class that would teach you how to get out of debt, but it's not. If you're investing in yourself and in a way to learn how to live for the rest of your life, because it's not just getting out of debt that one time, it's learning how to live your life debt-free. It's learning how not to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. Or if you're living with addiction, it's deciding, hey, I'm going to go get help. Or, hey, maybe it's not full-blown addiction. Maybe you just know that I like to go and party a little too much and I need to stop doing that. So maybe it's taking a moment to realize that you're not going to go do that. You're going to do something else. Maybe instead of doing that, I'm going to go take a painting class, or I'm going to go do something I've always wanted to do. Or I'm going to look at why I feel like I need to go numb myself. Because honestly, that's what you're doing. We numb ourselves in so many different ways. It's not just alcohol and drugs, and it's a lot of things. There's a lot of things we do. Some people like to shop because it makes them feel better. There's a lot of things that you can do to numb yourself. But do you really want to live life that way? Or don't you want to be present and live free in the present moment? Your life doesn't have to be perfect. It's just knowing that you're perfectly grateful for all that you have. And your life can change in an instant. When you decide that you want it to, when you decide that you're worth it. And you should never be ashamed of your story or where you've come from, because you might be helping others. You might inspire others just by talking about your story. I remember when I first started my podcast, I was a little afraid to talk about my personal life. And my mentor said, if you're not being real, no one's going to connect with you. And then the other day, she caught up with me and said, how's it going? And, I told her it was going well. And she's like, have you gotten real yet? It's like, sort of. She said, no, you haven't. People need to know what your story is so they connect with you. And the more I started to get real, the more I had people saying, thank you for saying this. And I remember I was working with a client the other day who said, oh, you said this on your podcast, and I had the same thing happen. And I was amazed, first of all, that people remember what I talk about, but also that this person had connected to me in that way. And I think that's awesome. And it helps me to understand why I need to be real, why I need to be honest. And yeah, sometimes I have a tendency to run away from my problems too, because it's easier. But it's only easier in the short run. In the long term, if you keep doing that, problems are going to catch up to you. They're going to find you. So it's better to deal with them head on and not run away from them. You know, I had this conversation with my son. The boy is so stubborn sometimes, and he was having a hard time in math. And he waited and waited and waited to say anything to anyone. So I didn't know he was struggling that much. And by the time we found out, it was too late. I mean, I was checking his grades, but it's so hard with the online grades because a lot of teachers do not update them on a regular basis. So you don't know. He would say, oh, I had that turned in. Oh, I turned that in. Like, okay, and finally I get to where I want to see it. I want to see what you've turned in, because it turns out, he was not doing what he said he was going to do, and he was not understanding, and he was embarrassed. And instead of just saying, I don't know what's going on and I need help, he just ignored it until it became too much of a problem. And then it became too difficult for him to figure out. But had he just said, I need help, I can't help him with math, but I can hire someone who could. There are a lot of tools out there today. I wish we had some of the tools we had when I had math. If we had videos that had other teachers teaching it, because then I could go home and review. That was always my problem. I would do the math, and I'd go home and forget how the teacher showed us how to do it. But if there had been a video, I could have just watched the video again, and it would have been so much easier. I need to see something 8 times before it sticks. But I'm always amazed at how, even though kids have all of these resources, they will still avoid a problem like nobody's business. I have students who do that too. It's like, well, I didn't understand. And I'll say, well, what did you do? Did you look at the PowerPoint? Did you look at the video? Did you look at... No. Okay, well, how did you expect to understand if you didn't do any of it? Did you come get help? No. But we're very much like them, aren't we? We see a problem and we just want to hide. And what God wants you to know is that there's no problem big enough or small enough that you need to hide from. We can heal, because when we aren't healing, we're hurting. So it's so important, it's vitally important that we heal. I heard a saying one time, and I loved it, and it's so true. But it says, if you don't heal your wounds, you're going to bleed all over people who didn't cut you. And how true is that? When we don't heal the problem, we don't take care of it, we don't heal the pain, we project our problems onto other people. So I just want you to know that there's nothing you're going through that can't be solved. Nothing. With God, all things are possible. You are a beautiful, beloved child of the divine who's always being taken care of. It's about learning how to take control, forgive yourself, and anyone else who may need to be forgiven, to change the way you see things and to change the way you think about things. And to know you can handle anything. Anything. Call on your spiritual team. They're always here to help you. I wanted to end this by pulling 2 cards for you. And the first one that I'm pulling is from the Teachings of Abraham deck. It says, "It is my dominant intent to look for what I want to see. As you deliberately look for things to appreciate, praise, or enjoy, you achieve vibrational harmony with your own source and with all that is good. And then the powerful law of attraction brings more good things to you. So it's about choosing to focus on what you want to see and not what you don't. When you heal yourself and you decide that you're not going to hide anymore, you're going to face those demons, those problems head on, and you're going to shift your mindset to focus on all that's good in your life and have gratitude, you're going to attract more of those things. And the second card I pulled for you is from the Heart Thoughts deck by Louise Hay. It says, I follow the path of right action. I choose my thoughts to be in alignment with all that is for my highest good and greatest joy. All is well in my world. And I love that because it is all about being in alignment. It's all about the thoughts you choose to dwell on. It's a lot easier to sit and think about all of the negative things in your life and all the things that have gone wrong and all the things that you don't have control over. But that's not going to get you anywhere productive. It's about rewriting that script, flipping the script, right? Saying rewind, delete, and going through and deleting those thoughts that are not serving you. They're keeping you stuck and keeping you afraid. You have nothing to fear. Nothing. And when you understand that, you can look at your situation and maybe instead of seeing crippling debt, maybe you see, but I can pay this bill. I have enough for this. I'm slowly making a dent. That's what I always used to think. I'm making a dent. Even if it still seems like there's a lot, I'm slowly paying it off. And I always have money to pay it off. It's changing that mindset. And if you are struggling with addiction, it's, I'm sober today. Just take it day by day. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Seek help from people who can help you. There are a lot of great people out there who are experts who can help you. So I urge you to seek that help today. And there's no shame in it at all. Not at all. I think that you are completely brave and strong for recognizing if there's a problem and getting the help. Because a lot of people don't even do that. So if you need anything, if you need help and you want to work with me, I offer Reiki sessions, coaching, past life regression, and even card readings. Just hop on my website. You can check out what I offer. You can contact me either through email, melissaoatman77@gmail.com. You can call me or text me. You can email me. You can message me on Facebook. There's so many ways to get a hold of me. Just contact me. If you want to work with me and you're not really sure what you want to do, a lot of people just contact me and say, what do you offer or what would be best? And we go from there. As always, you can join me on my Facebook Lives Tuesdays at 7 p.m. That's Central Time, where I do a free card reading. And if you're interested in getting your finances back in order, taking back your personal power, then think about joining my class that I'm doing with Heather Doran. All the information is on my website for that as well. If you have not subscribed to this podcast, please do. I super appreciate it. And as always, if you like it, please share with others. That helps others to be able to see the light as well. And that's part of my mission. And I am sending you massive love and light. Don't forget, you can also subscribe to my website to receive a free morning and evening meditation. Well, I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. And I am sending you massive love and light. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.